Greetings, Ben Murray here with another edition of SaaS Metrics School. So today, question from a reader of my blog, and they were switching from long-term contracts to a consumption-based model. So the question was, well, how do I calculate ARR? What's ARR? Can I take MRR times 12? So today, first, let's address the common SaaS revenue streams. So these are the SaaS revenue streams I've seen from helping hundreds of SaaS companies at this point. So of course, we have the traditional subscription revenue, fixed MRR or ARR contracts. Then we have variable revenue. Now, there are a lot of subtypes within variable revenue. So this could be consumption, transaction, usage, processing, etc. Anything that's going to vary, of course, from month to month. Then we have professional services. So the setup, configuration, training of our customers. That could be a couple hours to 6 months to a couple years. It just depends. Then we have managed services. So people powered subscription services revenue. So our IP is not doing it, our product's not doing it, but it's people powered, human powered services revenue on a subscription basis. Then we can have conference revenue. Oh, I forgot hardware revenue. If you have, say, a POS point of sale system, we could have some hardware attached to that. So those are the revenue streams I've seen. I've helped some SaaS companies with all those revenue streams. So we've got to keep those clear and distinct. Of course, I have tons of episodes on that and tons of resources in my academy on that. So what is ARR? Now, this is a tricky question because we have so many revenue streams now. Now, I'm a founding member of the SaaS Metrics Standards Board, and we've discussed this in depth. Now, this may be controversial, but the position that we've taken for what can be counted as ARR, well, there's got to, of course, we have subscription revenue. So any sort of recurring revenue stream, so subscription revenue, but variable revenue streams, say usage, processing, transaction, etc. There must be a minimum stated in that contract to count that as ARR. Because if there isn't, if there are no minimums, well, that revenue could, in theory, go to zero. So we have to be careful of what we count ARR. How much are we throwing in that bucket? Now, of course, as a SaaS CFO, I want to get credit for variable revenue streams. So if there's a pattern that's going up and to the right, it's sticky. We've got great retention. Maybe we're going to have an adjusted ARR number for that. So that could be actually a whole nother episode getting into the nuances of ARR. So we just have to be careful of what we throw in that bucket. So if we're switching from long-term contracts, and I assume this reader was thinking maybe annual invoicing or subscription contracts now to a consumption model. Now, how do I calculate ARR? Can I take MRR times 12? Well, yeah, if you have a variable revenue stream, say consumption revenue hitting your P&L, you could take that number times 12 for an ARR number. Now, of course, we talked about what is ARR. Are there minimums? How much is that fluctuating? Does it go up significantly, then down significantly, that we can really rely on that revenue stream? So if we tell investors, our board or potential investors, an ARR number, that we can really rely on that, and not in a couple months, it's gone down by 30%. So we have to be very careful with those variable revenue streams and what is really ARR. And if it is, say, highly fluctuating, seasonal, cyclical, where it's not that steady pattern up and to the right, we're then going to have to look at longer time periods, like 12 months over the previous 12 months, to see if we can see any sort of patterns in these variable revenue streams to really make it seem, if applicable, just as sticky and just as, the retention profile of our subscription revenue streams. So kind of ending with this episode, we just have to be careful, clear and distinct revenue streams. What kind of revenue streams do we have? What truly is ARR? How are we counting ARR? And again, this is another episode, but then how that flows into our SaaS metrics, that's a big deal. Like how we characterize our revenue streams is going to then dictate how I set up all those SaaS metrics calculations. So a little bit about what is ARR, the revenue streams that we see in SaaS, and switching from a subscription to a consumption model. Thanks.